Hello and welcome to your P6 notes, rational expressions. So you should have those out in front of you and ready to go. And we're going to be covering a couple of different things. It's not too awful bad. So I hope you have your P6 notes in front of you. All right, when you're going through, let me get to here, rational expressions, we're going to be doing a couple of different things here. We're going to be looking at numbers that cannot be included in the domain in the range. We are going to be simplifying them, multiplying them, dividing, adding and subtracting, and then working with complex numbers. So nothing too overly stressful. You should be doing well on this. Okay, and if not, make sure you're posting because some of it's a little confusing. I probably shouldn't lie to you. All right, so here's our rational expression. So it's just a division or a fraction, right? We're dividing. Okay, when you're dividing, you cannot divide by 0. So you always look at the denominator. Why does it do this? You always look at the denominator to see where it cannot be defined. All right, so those are your undefined sections. Oh my goodness, I went way back to the beginning. Let's see if we can get down here to P6. All right. So now we're looking at x squared minus 5x minus 14. We will care about the numerator a little bit, just not yet. So we need to factor that. So first we look at the factors of 14 that give you -5, so it's -7 and 2. Set those equal to 0. So x cannot be equal to 7 and x cannot be equal to -2. This is where it is undefined. It does not have a value because you would be dividing by 0. That's all I want you to do on this next one is find where it's undefined. Pause and go. All right, you should have said, hey, that's x minus 8 and x minus 2. And that means x cannot be equal to 8 and x cannot be equal to 2. This is where it is undefined. When we start to graph these are going to become our asymptotes. So you would have your x and your y graph, and at 2 you would have a line, and at 8 you would have a line, and the graph would not exist on those two sections. So you're going to have fun graphs that look kind of like this. You're going to love them. Anyway, that's where this is headed, just in case you wanted to know. All right, so now let's go on to simplifying. So that means we got to factor everything, reduce, but we still have to know where it's undefined. So we go here, and I want to simplify this. First, we start with the numerator. So you have to factor 4x squared minus 23 minus 35. Okay, that's a harder one. So remember, we have to multiply the 4 by the 35. That gives us 140, actually -140. And I needed to get a -23. This is off here. So we know that's 5 times 8. So in order to get a -23, and this should have had an x squared, man, there's all kinds of mistakes here. So we're going to have a 5x minus a 20. And then I can't write either. It's going to take a long time if we continue doing it this way. Minus a 28x. Those are my middle terms. So then we brought down the 4x squared and we brought down the -35. Remember, now you have 4 terms for your grouping, so this becomes plus the negative. Group your first 2, your last 2. Take out what they have in common. And these are the 2 factors for the numerator. The numerator does not make it undefined, so we do not set those equal to 0. So now we do the denominator, same thing. Factors of 14 that give us 5 because there's a 1 here, so we can go a little faster. Gives us 2 and -7, so it's undefined, so x cannot be equal to -2, and x cannot be equal to 7, or that's where it's undefined. So now we put these together and we see if there's anything that will cancel. So do I have any common factors, numerator, denominator? And we have the x minus 7, so we cancel those out. This is my simplified expression. It's still undefined at -2 and 7. Even though it's canceled, it does not go away from our undefined values. All right, pause it and try yours. You should have factored the numerator. You should have had x plus 2 and x minus 2. Next, you would have looked at 3 and -8, so you would have had a -24. Factors of 24, x squared, that subtract to 2. You should have had 4 and 6. I need a positive number. So I know the 6 is positive and the 4 is negative. Bring down your 3x squared. Doesn't matter what order you put those in. You could have done it differently than me and still got the same answer. Group the first two, group the last two. First two have an x in common. Second two have a 2 in common. My factors are the same. So I have 3x minus 4. And my second set of parentheses is x plus 2. So we write this underneath our numerator. Okay, I'm going to cheat just so it's easier to write. Then 3x minus 4, your x plus 2 cancels, leaving you with x minus 2, 3x minus 4. This is where it's undefined, so I know x cannot be equal to a negative 2, and x cannot be equal to, you're going to add the 4 and divide by 3, a positive 4/3. These are your undefined values. Later on are asymptotes. Now, we have a lot of things going on here, so we just don't look at it as such a large thing. We sit down and we look at them individually. So we do the first numerator, x plus 3. Well, that's pretty simple, so I can just write down x plus 3. The denominator, x squared minus 4, is x plus 2, x minus 2. Now let's go on to our second set of problems. Okay, the factors of x squared, so that's a 1, so it's not so bad. Negative 6 to equal negative 1 would be negative 3 and 2. So this is x minus 3, x plus 2. My bottom one is also a 1, so look how nice I was to you. Factors of 9 that give you 6 or 3. So you can write that x plus 3 squared, because I know we talked about that, but in canceling, sometimes it's easier to write them out so we don't lose one of them. So I look here, do I have an x plus 3 in common? And we do. I cancel out one of them, not both. X minus 3, nope, I do not have one of those. X plus 2, I do have an x plus 2, it's over here. So we are left with x minus 3 in the numerator, x minus 2 times x plus 3 in the denominator. If I asked you where this is undefined, you would have done it from this set up here, and you would have said it's undefined, so x cannot be equal to 2, negative 2, 3, or negative 3. Those are the undefined values. All right, pause and try yours. I hope you recognize that x squared plus 3 is prime and you cannot factor that, so that stays x squared plus 3. X squared minus 9 is a difference of squares, so that's x plus 3, x minus 3, so we're doing good so far, times, factor the top one, factors of 15 that equal 8 are your 5 and your 3. Factors of 5 that equal 6 are your 5 and your 1. All right. Undefined would have been negative 3, 3, negative 5, and negative 1 if we asked, but I did not in this case. Now we just need to cancel. So x plus 3's cancel. We have both of those in common. We have x plus 5's in common. Nothing else, so your numerator stays x squared plus 3 over x minus 3 times x plus 1. Division is just like multiplication, except you add one more step. You flip the second term. So this here is really x squared minus 2x plus 1 over x cubed plus x times, now we do the inverse of this guy, 3x squared plus 3 over x squared plus x minus 2. Now you do the same thing you just did. All right, pause and try it. So you should have had an x minus 1 and an x minus 1. The denominator, hopefully you factored out your x, getting your x squared plus 1. Since this is addition, it is not a difference of squares, so we cannot factor it. Times, factor out of 3, x squared plus 1. And the denominator is going to factor into x plus 2 and x minus 1 to get our positive 1 in the middle. Now cancel out your terms. X minus 1's cancel. x squared plus 1's cancel, and nothing else. So you're left with 3 times x minus 1 in the numerator over x times x plus 2 in the denominator. I actually like it in that form. If you want to distribute, you could, but this in here is easier to see what cancels. Adding and subtracting. So when you add and subtract, you have to have a common denominator, and that's what we do here. So we look at here, they're not common, so I have to get them that way. But to do that, I need to know what those factors are. So your first step is let's factor this denominator. So this first term is really x times x minus 5. And I'm going to write 2 of them instead of squared, even though it really doesn't matter in this case. Minus x minus 4 we leave. Denominator I can factor out a 2. All right, now I have to get a common, which means they have to be identical. So in other words, what are they missing? So this has an x minus 5 and x minus 5. This has a 2 and an x minus 5. So if I multiply this guy by 2, numerator and denominator, I have the 2 that's over here. But they're still not identical because this has 2 x minus 5s, which means this one needs an x minus 5. And so does this one. This guy's a little bit trickier, so let's see how we're doing here. I have the same denominator, so I only need to write him once. And we never distribute all of that because we want that in factored form. Numerator, a little bit more work. So now we've got 2x. The thing that's going to mess it up is that negative sign right there. So I'm going to put him in. I'm going to put a bracket to remind me that I got to do something with him. So now we're going to distribute this. So do all your multiplication. And I hope you came up with x squared minus 5x minus 4x should have given you a minus 9x plus 20. All right, but remember in front of this whole thing is that negative sign. So in order to get rid of that, I have to distribute that negative through. So we really have 2x minus x squared plus 9x minus 20 all over 2 times x minus 5. I'm going to put the squared here just for fun. I can combine like terms, so now I have a minus x squared plus 11x minus 20 all over 2 times x minus 5. Well, even without taking out the negative, which would just give me a positive 20 and negative 11, the factors of 20 will not add to 11, so there's no way to factor this, so this one's done. If this could be factored, we would do that and see if it could be reduced. Pause and try yours. Okay, this one here, I was nice to you and gave you numbers on the top. That should have helped. So we're going to look here. Let's go with blue. Now we got to factor that denominator. You should have done that first. 30 that gives you 11 is 5 and 6. So x plus 5, x plus 6. All right, now we go on to our second term. Doesn't factor, but it does have a 3 in common, so we're going to pull that out. All right, now we have to make them look the same. So your first term is missing a 3. So we would do the 3, numerator, denominator. Your second term is missing the x plus 5. So now you have a common denominator, so we write that down once. And your numerator, let's just do this math while we're at it. So that's 3 plus, let's do your distribution, 3x plus 15. So this gives us 3x plus 18 in the numerator over 3 times x plus 5 times x plus 6. But the numerator I can factor out a 3. I don't know if it will help us, but let's check. So if we factor out a 3, we have an x plus 6. Oh, look at there. Now we have a 3 and an x plus 5. Oh, I'm out of room. And an x plus 6. If you look, the 3's cancel, the x plus 6's cancel, and you are left with 1 over x plus 5. Do not forget this 1. This x plus 5 has to be in the denominator. I hope you did well. I think those are kind of fun. All right, a little more challenging. There's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to show you the way I like because I think it's the easiest. If you find another way online, just email me about it and I'll tell you how it works. All right, when you're looking at this, I look at this as three terms. I got 1 over x plus 7, a 1 over x, and a 7. I need them all to be fractions. So I'm going to make this 7 over 1. What I do next is I get a common denominator between all three terms. So the x plus 7 to match the x actually needs an x because I cannot add a plus 7. You can multiply for common denominators, but you cannot add. So this guy needs an x to match this one. So this guy to match the one in the front needs an x plus 7. So we've done pretty well in the numerator. Now let's look at this denominator. He has a 1, which means he actually needs both of them. He needs an x and an x plus 7, but I have to put that up here too. Once you have a common denominator, it works kind of like this. If I take 1/2 divided by 3/2, all right, you can get rid of these denominators and get 1/3 because what you're really doing is you're multiplying by the reciprocal, and then these 2's are going to cancel, which gives you the 1/3, which is the same as canceling the denominators. So since my denominators are the same, they will disappear. So my numerator is now this new value right here. So that's x minus parentheses x plus 7 all over 7x times x plus 7. I have to do my math. Well, this negative needs to be distributed, which gives me an x minus a 7 over 7x times x plus 7. Well, x minus x is gone. So my final answer is minus 7 over 7x times x plus 7. All right, try yours. It's just a little different because you've got 4 terms, but it's not too bad. Give it a shot. Okay, let's just start with the top. 3x and x plus 2. How do I get those the same? Well, this one needs an x plus 2. And this one here needs a 3x. All right, x plus 2. Well, luckily I've already got that, so I don't have to worry about it, but it still needs that 3. So I'm going to multiply this here by, it needs a 3x. Can't forget that x either, huh? 3x and a 3x. This guy has an x. He's missing a 3 and an x plus 2. All right, my denominators are identical, so they can go away. Now, what do we have up here? Let's take the 7 times this x plus 2. So we have a 7x plus 14 plus my 3x, that's in my numerator, all over 2 times 3x, which is 6x, minus, now let's be careful here, I have a 15, and I'm going to leave that x plus 2 just for a minute. So my numerator's not bad, that's 10x plus 14, all over, so now we got 6x minus 15x minus 30. So let's leave that 10x plus 14 up here. Should have taken out a 2, I suppose. Oh, let's do that real quick while we're up there. All right, you should be able to see that they have a 2 in common. So let's take out that 2. That leaves us 5x plus 7. Okay, in the numerator, our denominator, 6 minus this, our 15 is a negative 9x. Right? Please, 9x minus 30. Well, those two have a negative 3 in common. So now we've got numerator is 2 times 5x plus 7. I'm going to take out the negative 3. And that gives me 3x plus 10. Nothing reduces, but we are done. All right, I hope you did well. Good luck with your homework. Make sure you post and ask questions.